Hello again. I want to take a few minutes and talk to you about two new French Laguiole knives that I just received in the mail. They're both from the manufacturer Laguiole en Aubrac, which is in Espagne, which is in the Aubrac region, not too far from the town of Laguiole. They're one of the larger manufacturers on par with Forge de Laguiole or Honoré Durand. They have a very nice website, however they don't do direct sales from the website. You have to find their knives through other dealers. Now, these two particular knives I got through the cutlery reseller Berthier, and I've talked about them before. They're a very nice reseller. They have a great web page. They do take off the VAT tax on purchases if they are going to the United States, so that's why I like dealing with them if I can. In this particular case, it amounted to around €40 reduction per knife, which is quite significant. They shipped these. It took about a week to get here through the post office, and they arrived no problem. Now, I purchased these because I haven't actually had any knives from Laguiole en Aubrac, and I wanted to try them out and just see how their quality was. I'll show you the second knife later that I wasn't quite so happy with. This first one, though, I think is quite a nice knife. It came in a nice package with a little brochure that they send with some history. Talks about the parts of the knife and how they make them, the forging process, the different shapes of the mouche or the bee or the fly on the spine. About the handle materials. It's a nice little presentation booklet. And then in their little cloth bag here. So this first one is a Laguiole plein manche, meaning it's a full handle without bolsters. Very traditional shape. It's a 12 centimeter handle length, or about 4.5 inches. It's black buffalo horn tip, which is quite nice, the color. And these are all hand finished in France at the company there. All the handle grinding, the filing, the polishing, that's all handwork. Has a nice solid pin where the pivot is, with a little ring around it, which helps support the head when they make a rivet. And that helps keep the horn from cracking. It's got a little shepherd's cross inlay into the handle with pins, and the handle scales are held on with a central screw instead of a pin. A lot of the manufacturers are doing that now. Instead of using rivet pins to hold the scales on, they'll use a screw from the inside of the liner. It's stainless steel liners. The blade is 12C27, and it's got the mark there on the tang. On the blade, you've got the Laguiole en Aubrac stamp, in addition to the large L in a circle, which is the Laguiole origin guarantee, basically guaranteeing that the knife, in addition to being made in France, was made in the Laguiole area. Not in the town of Laguiole itself, but in the area, as a signal of quality. Now, this particular knife has some very pretty file work on it, and that's in particular why I wanted to pick this one up. It's got a very pretty rope pattern filing on the spine of the blade that continues all the way down. The spring, this is what they call a double platine, or a double liner, where they have two liner plates, which makes the handle a little bit wider. It's a little bit heavier and fills the hand a little bit better, but allows them to do file work on one of the liner plates, and allows that to set off and have the plain liner plates in between. It kind of sets off the pattern, makes it a little bit prettier. The mouche or fly is forged one piece with the spring, as are most of the higher quality French Laguiole knives. Nicely hand filed with a little checkering on the wings of the bee. Again, very pretty. If you look at the underside, It's a highly polished spring. You can actually see inside the spring. There's a little leaf pattern on the inside of the spring, which is very nice, and then you can see the double liners on the top. They've file worked the inside and the outside of that. Very, very nice workmanship. The spring is not super hard. It's fairly easy to close. There is some play when it closes so that it's not hitting the spine and going to damage the blade. Now you can look at this. The blade doesn't center very well. It's a little bit offset to one side. I'd like that to be a little more centered. That would be a little bit better. The only other thing that I'm not super pleased with, and I don't know if this is going to show up on the video or if you can even see it. See if I can get a little bit closer here, see if it stays in focus. The little gap between the back of the blade and the spring, there's a little fine gap there, and that really should be fit a little bit better. Doesn't really impact the function, it's just a little fine tuning that I think they should have done a little bit better job at. But that said, for the price, which was around 200 euros with the reduction, very, very nice, high quality knife, and cost for what you're getting is really quite good. Okay, this is the second one. This one, the finish and the polishing is quite nice. There's a few areas on the inside of the spring where it isn't polished very well, and you can kind of see a little bit of the screw head in there near the tail sticking out. Again, it doesn't really impact anything. The blade spring is a little bit stiffer. It doesn't have quite as much play. It doesn't bottom out on the spring, which is good. And again, doesn't really center very well. It's a little bit offset. The thing that I was really disappointed with, the handle work is done quite well, and it's fit nicely, and polishing. However, if we the fly or the mouche is hand filed. There's not much decorative filing work done on it. It's fairly basic. What I was disappointed with was the guilloched or the guillochage, the file work on the spine. It's got kind of a neat checkering pattern, but it's not very deep, and you can tell out here on the tail and up here near the fly, they've actually ground off most of it as they polished and ground and fit the spring flush with the mouche as they were fitting it together. So they've taken off most of the nice file work. So I'm not super happy with that. Still, it's a nice looking knife. The fit of the scales to the bolsters is very good. It's a very solid knife. It's got a forged mouche, forged B, and the polish and all is very nice on it. But again, just not to the same level as that first knife. I think it's still a solid value for the money, but I've got other knives that were in a similar price range that had a little bit better file work on them that I'm happier with. So this one here for 40 euros more was a heck of a deal, and just an exquisite knife, with the only problem really being the centering of the blade and that little fitting issue right up here where the mouche butts up against the back of the blade.